Proverbs chapter 26, verse 2. And this verse is incredible. So many times we are wondering, why am I cursed? Just like we were reading in the Christian family section. Why was Israel cast into to go and scattered among the heathen? Well, there was a cause. Proverbs 26, 2 tells us, as the bird by wandering, as the swallow by flying, so the curse causeless shall what? Not come. There is a reason, there is a cause for every curse. And as we are talking about health today, it's encouraging to know that if we are cursed with some kind of affliction in our health, that there is a cause for that. And in Job 29, verse 16, it tells us very simply that I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not. Do you know the cause of your sickness? Do you know the cause of your disease? Well, this is what Job did. It said, the cause which I knew not. What did he do? He searched it out. And that's what we want to do today. So we want to look at some of these things. I love this next definition of disease. It is really simple and so clear. It simply tells us from Ministry of Healing, page 127. It's a great book, by the way. Truly, healing is a ministry because the curse causeless shall not come. We have to understand the ministry of bringing us back into relation to God. Disease is an effort of nature to what? To free the system from conditions that result from a violation of the laws of health. In case of sickness, what needs to be done?
The cause should be ascertained.
The cause should be ascertained, or in other words, should be discovered or searched out. Unhealthful conditions should be changed, wrong habits corrected. The nature is to be assisted in her effort to expel impurities and to reestablish right conditions in the system. Now, I would just say that each one of you just got an incredible class in nutrition and health that very few people in the world have ever received. And if you truly think about this, this is so simple that a child could do this. And it's so effective. Just think about the common sense of this. Look at the reason for the disease, change the unhealthful conditions, help assist nature in removing the impurities and whatever it's struggling with, and reestablish right conditions. That is so simple, and it works every time. Well, these are the 8 doctors that if we are not obeying them, this is going to be the cause of a lot of our trouble. It tells us right here, what are the 8 doctors? Godly trust. Open air. Can you take my picture off so they can see? Thank you. Daily exercise, sunshine, proper rest, lots of water, always temperate, and nutrition. Are these things that you can bottle up and sell in a grocery store or in a drugstore? No, because they require our action. Someone can't force us to do this. We can't just take a pill and trust in God. I trust you fully, Savior. No, that's not going to happen. Open air. Well, if we take a pill, that's not going to open our windows and our blinds. Daily exercise, we have to get out there. Just because we take a pill, that's not going to exercise our muscles. These are simple things, but they're so effective. Now, there was a time, not that long ago, sadly, but a time when we had air was air, water was water, food was food, and poison was poison. This is important to understand because this has changed. Now we have, in place of this, we have, instead of air, we have a lot of chemicals, a lot of plants that manufacture things that cause a lot of pollution to go in our air. So the air that we're breathing is not completely pure. Water that used to be water is, a lot of times if we're living in the city, they're showing that there's rocket fuel, arsenic, germs, lead, and pesticides in the water we're drinking. Even worse, there's drugs from other people because a lot of the water in the city is recycled. That's why there's a lot of people who can't have children nowadays because the drugs that they take to help them not have children, they go right to the next person. All these drugs are sent right into the water. So if we don't think we're drugged up and we're drinking our water, we're still drugged up. Sad case. And food. Food, what has happened to food? Well, this may look innocent, but that's chemicals. That is poison that they're spraying on our food. Now, what is right with this picture?
Nothing.
There's nothing right with this picture except that this man is very protected, and that's a good thing. Because these chemicals that he is spraying on our fruits, actually on our vegetables, is so toxic that if he was to get it on his skin, he would have some serious problems and possibly even die. When I was in Australia, I was sitting around with a big group of farmers. And it was really, really fascinating to hear them. This is old-time farmers, and some of them they were telling me about how they made just pressed olive oil right out of the olives that they gathered from their trees. It was an incredible experience. And they're telling me that there was a man that lived down the way. These are all old-timers. They had been around farming for a long time, decades. And they said there was an old man along the way, and he was one day spraying his crops, and back then we didn't know that poisons could kill you. And he was out there, and he didn't have any protection. And they have their fancy Australian accent, and they're just, in the language of farmers, telling how they had been ignorantly, without any protection, just in bare skin, spraying these chemicals. And this one old-time farmer had gotten some on his skin, and he had gone mad from that day forward. And he was still alive, but he was a curse to society. He was absolutely out of his mind from one day accidentally spilling chemicals on his skin, and instantly he went mad. This is what's happening, and they're spraying it on our food. So the only thing right in this picture is that the man is completely unable to get the chemicals on him. But let's look at some food facts. 90% of lettuce has been tested positive for 47 different pesticides. These are the very pesticides the Australians were telling me had made their friend go mad within seconds of physical contact. 57 different chemical residues. Is this something that we should be putting in our bodies? What is the cause? Well, this has caused some really terrible things. UCLA did a study, and they found in 1953 that one bowl of spinach was able to provide the body enough iron for a week. But in 2007, it took 51 bowls of spinach to get enough iron to supply our bodies with the iron that it needs. Now, brothers and sisters, I have a question for you. Are you able to eat 51 bowls of spinach this week? Where has this come from? Well, this graph shows us very clearly the increasing mineral deficiency and disease. And this is showing from 1947. Do you know what began to happen in 1947? 1948 is when they began to spray chemicals extensively, where it became a practice in normal farming, where it wasn't just in other parts, maybe an experiment. Now this became a practice. And when spraying chemicals became a practice in our land, what happens? Drastically, you can see this blue line on the screen, drastically this amount of minerals decreased so much that by 1994, brothers and sisters, was 23 years ago. In 1994, it was extremely low. It's lower today. And look they began to trace the amount of people that were coming up with diseases related to minerals falling short. Every sickness and disease can be traced back to mineral deficiency in the body. And this man actually received a Nobel Prize for his research in this. And there is another quote that I do not have right here that tells us that disease difficult to cure is simply because we do not have the minerals our body needs. Out of the 90 nutrients, 60 are minerals. This is what our body needs every day. Practical illustration. But I would encourage each one of us, what can we do about this? Well, we have been given encouragement and counsel in the Bible that we should not be living in the cities. I have been reading in the very beginning and realizing that Cain, the one that chose to go away from God, is the first one who built a city, where Seth and Abel and Adam and Enoch all lived out in the country. That's where God's people should be. They should be in the country, and they should be growing their own food that is not sprayed with pesticides and herbicides, that is not sprayed with all these chemicals. And as they're out growing their own food, God has promised an abundant harvest. Can you change to the next slide? An abundant harvest. This is not only for us, but for those around us to be able to share, to enjoy the nutrition that God has given us in the simple things of nature. Okay, you're saying, but Victoria, this is winter time. What in the world am I going to do? Well, I'm blessed right now to be in California, but no matter where you are in the world, there's something that you can do. And this is what you can do. You can start even today growing sprouts and eating the nutrition from the sprouts. This is incredible. This is live, raw enzymes. No matter if it's winter for you, no matter if it's summer, spring, fall, any time of the year, you can grow sprouts inside. And that is nutrition that has not been sprayed, and so it's going to be much higher than those UCLA studies. All 8 doctors are required to be able to grow a garden, to be able to grow fruit. Let's just look at this, for instance. Does it take godly trust to know that those little seeds that you put in the ground and you don't know if they're going to come up, will actually come up? It really does take trust in God. And when you begin farming, you're going to realize that. I remember being a child and weeding out in the garden and wondering, how long will it take before we're eating tomatoes? Months. It truly teaches you to trust in God. It also helps you get the air you need, the daily exercise, the sunshine. And the Bible tells us that the sleep of a laboring man is sweet. So it's going to help you get better rest. It's going to help you be temperate. When you're eating that food out of your garden, it doesn't have the same chemicals in it to make you want to eat more. It's going to really help you be temperate and get the proper nutrition. And I just want to close with this thought that the people who farm, the people who are out there every day in their rice fields, doing whatever they're doing to be able to grow their crops to live off of, they are some of the happiest people in the world. And there's a reason for that. Because when we're doing that, it helps us to follow the 8 doctors and get the nutrition we need. Let us, since we know the cause of a lot of our sickness is the chemicals, the water, and the things that are coming, let's move out to the country with our families and let's start beginning to grow our own food, even if that means starting with sprouts.